Alright, I'm on the PTR server right now. A bit late, but better late than ever. So, I've just played a bit with the new 5-star Fuxi. And he is beyond busted right now. He's kinda like the next power creep that we have. So, this video is I'm only gonna focus on him because he does way too much right now. And yeah, if I were to get into other things, it's gonna be a very long video. So, first off, let's just read his skills real quick. He has a universal 30% HP lead. His S1 does attacks one enemies 3 times, scales with his attack and max HP, and then he also heals the ally with the lowest HP by 150% of his damage. And while Marsh Wind is in effect, it is guaranteed to crit. His ability 2 is attacks enemies 1 time and inflicts defense down. If he has Marsh Wind, it also does more damage based on his max HP. And then lastly, his S3 is, let's take a look at the Ascension real quick. S3 is, yeah, I can't even read it like that. Activates Marsh Wind zone for 3 turns, gains 2 stacks of Far Journey, launches Pursuit attack with his S2. All ally gains Heaven's Wheel at the start of a round, and this is on a 4-turn cooldown when you max it out. Marsh Wind is the main reason why he is so overpowered, and it's not just because of this. He does way more than just this Marsh Wind, but this portion right here is why he's considered to be one of the best in my opinion. So Marsh Wind, when allies deal damage, they restore HP. So with this effect, he gives it, as long as he is alive and he has this Marsh Wind, all of your allies will have a inbuilt Ggez set, okay? So they can't really die unless they get one shot. Especially if you want to run him with like 5 DPS. If they don't get one shot, then they can't really die because one hit from them will just fully heal them. So inbuilt Ggez right there, and the healing is 30% of the damage. Again, like Ggez, I think Ggez is only 20%. Then when allies deal damage with basic abilities, inflicts additional damage equal to 2% of the target's max HP up to 100% of the caster's attack. Now this is why he's so overpowered right now. 2% of the max HP and up to 100% of the carrier's attack. I haven't tested this out, but the carrier's attack, if I'm not mistaken, is only him, because the carrier of the Marsh Wind is only him. He doesn't give this Marsh Wind effect to your allies. As long as he is alive in the battlefield, and when he casts his S3 he gains this Marsh Wind, that means he's the only carrier of Marsh Wind. But 100% of the attack means that if you want to build him, you probably want to build him more towards attack based rather than being HP based, even though he scales with max HP. Okay, so Heaven's Wheel is the carrier gains a bonus, random bonus for 3 turns when casting abilities. If the ability is a basic ability, Fuxi gains 1 stack of Far Journey. Counter attacks won't trigger this effect. Now this one is towards your ally. Your ally can gain the same buff even though they already have the buff, so that's one downside to him. But that downside can be removed if you have him at R2, which I'll explain in a bit. And then Far Journey is when an ally is inflicted with stun or sleep, consumes 2 stacks of it to dispel the afflicted effect. Maximum 8 stacks. While Marsh Wind is in effect, after an ally casts their basic ability, consumes 2 stacks to perform a pursuit attack with Draconic Roar. Triggers once per turn. Attack up, speed up, and crit damage up, the random bonus. Alright, so what I'm going to show you right now is the Marsh Wind effect. I've done a bit of testing. This Marsh Wind effect, as you can see, when allies deal damage with basic abilities, inflicts additional damage based on 2% of the target's max HP up to 100% of the carrier's attack. This part right here, up to 100% of the carrier's attack, is based on his attack. But since this part right here, this Marsh Wind can crit, it is based on the attacker's crit damage. Okay? Let's see, my Unas has a plus 20% crit damage, while my Feng Shun or Fuxi does not have any crit damage. And he has a very low attack, right? So when I do an attack with Unas with his S1, you will see that when Unas crit, he will do more damage on the true damage than what Feng Shun would do on his true damage. It's not really considered true damage. It's actually better than true damage because it can crit. I have the Marsh Wind effect, and I have Unas right here. I'm gonna attack, let's say I attack this guy, right? So there's going to be 6 damage stacks right here that's going to pop up. The odd one, the even one, sorry. So 2, 4, and 6 in the ladder right here is going to be the true or the additional damage portion. It can crit, so let me see if I can get some crits. There we go. 1208 is the crit and 604 is the non-crit. And as you can see, Feng Shun on his pursuit did 1084 because he has less crit damage than Unas. My Unas has 170 crit damage while he has only 150. Now I'm going to show you when my Lucas attack. Lucas and Feng Shun will do same amount of additional damage because my Lucas has plus 0% crit damage. Okay, once again, Unas will do slightly more damage on his pursuit or on his additional damage than what he can do because Unas has slightly higher crit damage than him. Okay, now my Lucas has the same amount of crit damage as him, so when my Lucas attack, his additional damage portion is going to be the same as Fuxi. Right here, 1327. See, it's based on, and my Brewster did 1437 because he has slightly higher crit damage. So that's why it's really overpowered. You can build him with a lot of attack, like stack attack or attack speed on him rather than going HP route, because HP route he is going to do a little bit more damage and he's going to be more tanky, but I don't think he really needs it. You can get like the HP subs in the substats and just go attack and speed so that he can spam the S3 and have the Marsh Wind effect at all times. And then also his true damage portion from his S2 is not really that crazy. It's only 4%, but the main damage that he's going to bring you is from the Marsh Wind effect, and when your allies do their S1, and then when they crit, it will be based off their crit damage and not his crit damage. So far from what I've tested in Shadow Bosses and Event Trials, they have a artificial HP of 100,000, so whatever max HP percent that you do will be based off 100,000. If you apply poison, then it's going to be 100 times 4%, so it's like 4,000 damage. So 2% of the caster's HP is 2,000. Actually, hitting 2,000 is pretty easy, so you might not even need to go attack speed with him. You can even go crit damage attack and speed probably, because getting 2,000 attack on him is pretty easy. So yeah, you can even go crit damage attack and speed, which means that you're going to do 2,000 flat damage, which also can crit. So depending on how much crit damage that you have, let's say for example your DPS has plus 150 crit damage, that means that 2,000 is going to be multiplied by 3 times, so 6,000 additional damage per hit. It's not just one hit, right? It's any amount of hits. So let's say for example Lucas has 3 hits on his S1, he's actually doing 2,000 times 3 and then times whatever crit damage that he has, and that's why it's so overpowered. So units like Lucas, units like Unas is going to be really good pairing with Feng Shun. Brewster is also going to be very good because he already does a lot of S1 pursuits. Let's see any other units that can also do multiple hits. I think Ophelia should also be very good. Any other units that do multi-hits on their S1 is going to be really good. Yun Chuan. Yeah, Yun Chuan. Especially he does 3 hits on his S1. So he's going to be very good with Feng Shun or Fuxi. I keep forgetting his name. But since the condition to do the additional damage is to have Marsh Wind effect, you kind of want to run him in either Wind set or Ocean set. I think Ocean set is going to be the best for him, because then you can cycle his S3 more and have the Marsh Wind effect at all times, so that all of your allies can do more damage, can do the additional damage on their S1. So right here, Yun Chuan, he's going to do 6 hits on his S1. Boom. There we go. And yeah, it does a lot of damage. Yeah, there's a lot of other units that can pair up very well with him. And also, the other mechanic that he has is that whenever your allies cast an S1, he has a chance to pursue. I haven't even talked about this one yet, but his far journey right here. After an ally casts their basic ability, consumes 2 stacks to perform a pursuit attack with Draconic Roar. Now this is also overpowered and broken because whenever your ally casts an S1, he also gains 1 stack of far journey right here. Fuxi gains 1 stack of far journey, and then he will also pursue, right, if you have 2 stacks. So he will use 2 stacks of this far journey to perform a pursuit with his S1. Now take a look at his far journey stacks right now. He has 3 stacks of far journey, and I'm gonna use my Unas to S1. Take a look at his far journey, right? S1 plus 1. Boom. It's at 3 stacks again. Because my Unas uses S1, that gives him 1 stack, and then his pursuit gives him another stack, which means he has infinite far journey stacks as long as the boss or any of your allies don't get stunned or slapped. And it's pretty easy to stack up this far journey stacks because he gets 2 stacks whenever he casts his S3. He also gets some stacks from his Divinity, which I forgot to talk about. I'll show it to you after this. But once again, if my Lucas uses his S1, boom, 4 stacks, back to 2 because he used it up, and then back to 3 because he has because he performed the pursuit. So if you were to run like a Brewster, your ally procs and uses their S1, Brewster procs an assist, that's 1 stack plus 1 stack from your ally, and then he procs a pursuit, that's another stack, which means he gets a net plus 1 bonus from his thingy, from his far journey stacks, which is insane. So he's pretty much gonna proc this far journey stacks as long as the boss doesn't have a stun or any of your allies don't get stunned. So he's gonna be very good pairing with Xuan Pin as well, because Xuan Pin does stun your ally with her S2, but this one will just cleanse off the stun. So I'm gonna show it to you real quick. Xuan Pin, if you don't want to run a cleanser, then you can just run him in the team, because right here, undispellable cannon buff, dealing damage ignores 20% of the defense, gains stun when this effect expires. Okay, Unas with the cannon buff, and then when he attacks, he should get stunned, but because my Feng Shun has the far journey stacks, it's going to remove 2 stacks from him, and then remove the stun from Unas. Right here, yep, there we go. Stun, but it got removed. So yeah, that's one synergy that you can run if you don't have a R2 Xuan Pin. Okay, this is also one thing that you should take note. When he dies, the Heaven's Will effect is still in effect, but you cannot gain the random bonus. As you can see, my Una still has the Heaven's Will effect. It says right here, the character gains a random bonus for 3 turns when casting abilities, blah blah blah. But since he is already dead, even though my Unas is casting skills, he's not getting the buffs. See, he has the Heaven's Will buff, but he's not getting the random bonus buff. So you kind of need Fuxi to be in the field for you to get the random buff, just to see that you can get the same buffs multiple times in a row. And that's the downfall, or the little flaw that you have running him as a soul attack buffer at R0. So right now I have a speed up. There we go, I got the same speed up again because it's random. It's 1 in 3. You can get unlucky and get the same buffs over and over and over and over again without getting the attack buff. If you're missing attack buff in your team, then you really lower your damage potential, because attack buff is one of the biggest multiplier damage in the game currently that we have. But in order to kind of lower the RNG that you have with him is by going for his R2. You don't really need him to be at R2 if you want to run a unit that has if you want to run a secondary attack buffer and speed buffer, then you don't need him to be at R2. But if you want to min-max, then his R2 is going to be a really good bonus for you, because then you can only run him as a soul support plus 4 DPS, and that's going to be really good for pushing really high scores for, you know, falsetto fantasy and stuff. So his R2 is grants all random bonus effects to all allies for 3 turns, all allies AP plus 25%. 1 harmony. This is whenever he casts his S3, he will grant attack up, speed up, and crit damage up, and it's on a 4-turn cooldown, which is massive. So if you have him at R2, there's no more RNG of not getting the attack up for multiple turns in a row. So it alleviates some of the RNG. But again, if you don't want him to be at R2, you don't want to summon for his R2, it's then you kind of want to run him with a secondary attack buffer in your team. His Divinity, I don't think you really need it for PvE, but it is helpful for stuff like PvP. So his Divinity is gains 3 stacks of Far Journey at the start of a round and gains 3 stacks of Far Journey after casting 1 harmony. Now this is pretty good for PvP, but for PvE it's not really that crazy, because like I showed you just now, the Far Journey stacks don't really go down because he gets the Far Journey whenever your allies cast S1, and whenever he pursues, he also gets +1 Far Journey stacks. So it's not really gonna go down unless the boss has multiple stuns on their skills. It's going to be really good for PvP, because in PvP, these Far Journey stacks is going to be very helpful for going up against Hilda, because if your allies get stunned or slapped, he will just cleanse it off right away because he has 3 stacks at the start of a round. And lastly, what I want to cover is that his buffs, Heaven's Wheel, will probably allow for some crazy speed running. Right now, the fastest team for most of this Ritual Miracle for like Chronos and APAP is like 4 turns. But because of this Heaven's Wheel, I think in the distant future, if we have a really good turn 1 nuke character, it could be possible to get a 3 turns run on some of these Ritual Miracles, especially like APAP or Chronos, because this Heaven's Wheel buff, it occurs before you cast a skill. So for example, in APAP or Chronos, people don't really run an attack buffer anymore, for speedrunning that is, because running a attack buffer occupies 1 slot or 1 turn that you need to take. But due to this Heaven's Wheel proccing at the start of a round, he's not really eating up a turn, so that your DPS can get the attack buff before he gets his turn and apply the attack buff. So I'm gonna show you an example right here. My Genie, without the attack buff, will do okay, so with the attack buff, she did 28,776. So without the attack buff, I'm going to show you one more time. This time without attack buff, 21,103. So the attack buff applied before Genie hit with her S1, and that's why there's some potential to have like 3 turns of Chronos and 3 turns of APAP. This is only a concern for the speedrunners. For Ritual Miracles, it's not so much for bossing contents, because bossing contests you don't particularly care about that much of time saving. In Ritual Miracle, getting the lowest turn possible to get rank 1 to get the most reward is beneficial, right? But for other contents, it's not really that beneficial. So again, this Heaven's Wheel effect is going to be really good for future speedrunning contents, because it applies before the skill is casted, and instead of running a spot to fulfill an attack buffer in your team, you no longer need to do that. You can just run him, giving this Heaven's Wheel buff, and that acts as a attack buff. It's going to require a lot of RNG, obviously, because it's 1 in 3 chance, but when it comes to speedrunning, then it's not really that big of a deal. As long as you can reroll a few times, then you can probably get like the lowest turn possible with this guy, if you can get the right RNG to proc with the Heaven's Wheel. And yeah, that's about it. I'm definitely going to summon for him at least R0. I don't know if I want to R2 him just yet. I might get his Divinity for PvP, but yeah, I think he's a must summon for R0. But for R2, if you don't want to spend 300 Wheatstones, then you can run him with a secondary attack buffer. But yeah, that's about it. Ciao.